We have got some incredible businesses here today. I am going to start by saying that. And we also have a lot to get through. So, what I would recommend is if you haven't already, just grab some pen and paper or just like whatever you normally like to take notes with. If it's your phone or whatever is convenient for you. If you are new to my workshops and you've never attended them live, I will say that I run through a beautiful workshop. And when I upload this, so it will go to the podcast if you want to listen to it later, any questions that you ask me, we actually will remove them. So you don't have to worry about if you want to ask something and it's like it's kind of going to be imprinted in this recording for forever. So what I would love for you to do is ask questions, share. So of course you can get the most out of this as well. That is okay. You enjoy your breakfast. I just had a waffle and it was delicious with a nice little double espresso, some berries. I had it with my mom. It was the perfect way to start my Tuesday. Okay, I've got the chat open as well. All right, everyone, let's get to it. It's really interesting that I feel in the online business land, it's like we kind of go through maybe like trends and waves where you'll see people, it's like 1 minute they're talking about funnels and the next it's about waitlist. And at the moment, I feel like that I'm just getting really bombarded with everything around scaling. Let's scale your business, scale your business in 2026. Your scaling plan starts now. And it's so interesting when you actually dive deep into how people talk about this and the plans that they'll tell you is this is how you actually will scale your business. And the other day I was getting ready for work, little guilty habit of mine, but I watch or I listen really to Reels and TikTok as I get ready. And I'll just scroll through. It's very therapeutic. Some people probably like listen to nice music or they meditate. For me, I'm just keeping up to date with what's happening. And there was an ad that had come up by it's a company and they look at scaling your agency. And his pitch was so compelling. As I was listening to this, I was like, oh, this sounds, if I had an agency, this sounds like something exactly what I would like to do. And as the pitch went further along, they started to talk about the process that they would do to actually scale your business. And he ended by basically saying that, and all we're going to do is we have a method of doing all these ads. And what this means is you are going to get awesome leads. And when you look at your diary, it is going to be filled with sales calls. And I remember I've got the tiniest little bathroom. I have my setup. So I've got my makeup compact on my ledge in my shower. So I'm standing in my shower. I've got my eyeshadow brush in my hand. And I stopped and I turned around and I looked at my phone and I thought, but most businesses and solo founded businesses would have maybe a maximum of 3 people that he's targeting. So it's like you look at a team, there's 3 people, sometimes there's one. And we don't have the luxury, nor do we have the desire to spend our whole day on sales calls closing. Because you think about it, if we're on Zoom all day trying to get work, trying to close deals, when do we actually do our job? And he had then said, oh, you could just hire a salesperson. And it was so funny because I'm like, but where are you going to get this dream salesperson and where are we going to get, $80,000 to $100,000 a year to pay them? And it got me thinking that a lot of scaling advice that you hear online is really targeted to the person that is $1 million in business. They are already there. They've already got a team. They've already got good people that are trusted working in the business. They've got a lot of time, and 100% you can fill your calendar with something and handball work to a particular person. But most founders don't have the luxury to do that, nor do we actually want to have our diary filled with sales calls. So it got me thinking really around when we look at how people are positioning, how do we actually scale a business? There's usually 2 things that are spoken about. One is we can scale with the outlay of labor. So it's like, let's get busier. Let's hire another person so we can bring in more work. Or let's outlay a whole bunch of ads. Let's do a whole bunch of PR and let's, aim for like whatever ROAS, and then we'll hope to get it back. Has anyone heard that before where it's almost like simplifies it like you just need to hire another person and it means that you can do this, or we just need to do some Facebook ads and it means that you can do this. And it sounds on the surface very simple, like you just have to do this one thing and you'll get this back. But the problem is there is usually a big outlay that is associated with that. So what we're going to learn today is one of my favorite method on how we actually can scale a business. And if you are paying for your email marketing software, you have everything that you need to scale your business. So you think about it, a lot of people are paying for their software, and maybe we're sending one email a month, maybe one a week. But what we can really do with our software is use this as a tool and a system to actually scale our business. Okay, so if you're paying for the tool, why not use it? When I started to do a lot of education around email marketing and marketing automation, something that I would tell people is, especially for like the A types, if you're super Virgo and anal like me, I'm going to put my hand up. There is sometimes this feeling of like, I don't want to release control because I know that no one is going to do it with the heart and the soul that I can. And this is also my business. This is my baby. And this is a way, if that is you, that you can clone yourself, ensure that these comms are an extension of you and that they are going out every time. And you can really be sure about how your business as well, it's being represented. So if you have built an incredible brand, which I'm pretty sure I know all of you, and you have, you think about it, it's like, even if you're like, oh, I don't have an email list yet, that is absolutely fine. If you have been, say, focusing on Instagram and you've got an incredible audience, or TikTok or LinkedIn, if you have people that are paying attention to you and your business, you are going to be able to utilize what we're talking about today. So what I want you all to think about now, and maybe there are going to be a couple that you relate to here, I would love for you to let me know in the chat what you feel is your biggest sore point at the moment. Maybe there's 1, 2, 3, maybe all 4. So you feel like that maybe you've got people that come and they find you on Instagram and it's like you get a new follower, but nothing really happens from it. It's like you see someone follows you, but you don't really see them interact or engage with your brand. Or maybe you've got good engagement, but it's getting that first sale. So it's like really the sales and conversions. It's almost like you have this like real beautiful band of loyalists. They're not actually giving you money. Or maybe you feel like that, you get great sales, and then after that, people just don't tend to buy again. And what you can't understand is they seem to be really happy with their purchase, but it's not like they go and purchase something else. Or maybe you feel like if you've got like a subscription model, it's like they come and maybe they buy like a pack or they buy a month. And then after, it's really hard to get them to engage. Or maybe you feel like that currently everything that you're doing is manual. So it's like, I remember, I think it was, actually, I can't remember. I love how they phrase this, but it was, if aliens came and they abducted you, okay, and they took you away for like a week, and then they dropped you back on Earth a week later, what would in your business be done? Would you get sales? Would you stress? Or would it feel like everything stopped? And if that is you, if you are like, the aliens cannot abduct me because I haven't done this, then you would be number 4. Okay, cool. We've got a couple 4s, we've got a couple 2s and a couple 4s. Okay, 3 and 4s. Amazing, amazing. So the cool thing is email will help with all of this. And what I want you all to remember is I feel sometimes we can think about this as like a marketing channel, okay? Because it's called email marketing. I feel that when we call it email marketing, it does disservice for what it actually does, which is really hold a whole business together. So what I want you to think about as we, go through the call today is I want you to see this as your clone of you. This is going to be a hire. So if we don't have the time or the funds or the energy to have like a sales team that works 24/7, or maybe someone that is going to deal with like new leads and qualify them enough so that when they get to us, we're like, okay, cool. Hi, awesome client. Love that this is our first session. This is what we are now able to use email for, okay? And you may be wondering, how does she know all this? I think that this would probably be a really good time for me to kind of introduce myself. Now, what I would love for you to do as well, if you could pop your name and your business in the chat, what your business sells, and what you feel currently like your biggest scaling bottleneck is. So you can think about, why did you want to come today? Okay. So tell me a little bit about you and your business as well. And this is really, I guess, my almost 17 years of entrepreneurship that you can see in front of you right now. So I started my first business, a Pilates studio in regional New South Wales. I actually started at the East Maitland Bowling Club. I unfortunately don't have a picture of that, but I had that beautiful space in the upper left-hand corner. People actually paid to be there. And it started with $10 Pilates classes. And over time, I transformed that business into a brand, became the health writer for almost every single health publication in Australia. I had a Pilates DVD, and I started writing even more. I was a sex and dating writer. I had my business Professional Babe, which was a beauty blog. And over time, it has turned into the business that I have today, which is a beautiful consultancy. Okay. And I have the best job in the world because people are incredible at what they do. And I ensure that they get paid really well for it and that they have a really sensational business for it. Okay. So make sure you let me know in the chat what you do. You know, I love, come on, guys, come on. And what I want you to do as well today is, as we go through, I want you to take notes. I really want you to think about, I want you to hunt for 3 takeaways for today. So as I'm giving you stuff, you know, don't just sit back and think, I'm just going to soak this up. I want you to think about, oh, cool. Yes, this is something I can apply for my business. Yes, this is what I'm going to do for my business. And I want you to write these things down. Awesome. Hello, gorgeous Jackie. Speaking and media coach. Bottleneck is needing to simplify my business as I'm taking on. I love this. Amazing. Hello, Denicia. Weave Building Design. Beautiful. What I want to say as well to all of you is, sometimes in business, and I had to really learn this the hard way, the more that you deal with at the start and the more that you feel like, oh my gosh, life and business is just throwing me all of these curveballs, the cool thing is you get to solve all of these problems pre-scale. It's really interesting that a lot of the time when I talk to clients, they will say to me things like, oh, I just wish that I was big already. The thing is, you want to learn this stuff right now. You want to learn this stuff before you're at the $1 million a year mark, because you think about it, mistakes that happen now and things like little road bumps that happen now, so much smaller, easier to deal with compared to like a mistake at $1 million and feeling like that you're up here. Okay. So the cool thing is, you are all going to be able to take things away that you can action today. Okay. Which is so, so, so exciting. Now, I would love for you to let me know in the comments what you think in business. When we talk about growth and scale, what is the difference? How would you define that? Hello, gorgeous Chelsea. This is so exciting. I'm excited for your launch as well. Does anyone know what the difference is? If you want, you can just put like a thumbs up or thumbs down on the chat. Not too sure? Okay. We've got a little bit of a diagram that I have pinched from qarea.com because I was going to create one of these and I was like, Peter, you are not a designer. Just see what someone has done. We'll use their little graphic and then we can use your genius to explain this. A lot of the time in business, people will talk about we're scaling. Okay. You hear this a lot. We're scaling, we're in a scale period. And all of a sudden they're like, oh, we've just hired 3 people. I've just spent $50,000 on this mastermind. I've done this. And what you usually see this in relation to is it's like, oh, we've just had a $50,000 month. I've just hired 3 people. Or I've just hired, let's just stick with one. I've just hired 1 person. And you think about it, that 1 person is, if they're $3,000 a month, that's $36,000 for the year. So you just had your $50,000 a month. And guess what's happened? Our expenses have just gone up with that. I've just had another big month. I'm going to get a website. My expenses go up with that. And you see this a lot where people will have a big income win and then all of a sudden the expenses rise. And what happens with this is anytime there feels like a dip, and remember, this is entrepreneurship. This happens, okay? Stability is a salary. We have stability in so many other different areas, but when it comes to income and consistency, it is always going to be a little bit bumpy. That is fine. But you can see here with growing, it's like the revenue goes up. So our revenue is our sales. So it's like you think about it, you have a sales month of $20,000, our costs go up. We then have a sales month of $30,000. Cool. Let me go buy that website. Our costs go up. Oh, cool. We're still at $30,000. I'm going to go and do a photo shoot. I'm going to hire a virtual assistant and our costs go up. We're not actually scaling when we're doing that. What we're doing is we're still growing, because as we're growing our revenue, we're also growing our costs and we're growing our expenses. And why I bring this up is because you think about what we started with when we talked at the start, how when we think about traditional scaling advice, it talks about the outlay of money and labor. And the problem is, if we are still figuring out what to do, if we're figuring out Facebook ads, we're figuring out how to onboard our hire and make that work, this is where we still feel like we're growing and we're doing all the right things. Has anyone felt like that before, where it's like, I'm doing all the right things, but for some reason it's not reflected in my income? Okay, where if we look at the other diagram here, we can see how revenue goes up when we scale, but costs pretty much, they go up a little bit, but they're very, very, very even. And why I love email is you're already paying for your software. Now, depending on what software you're using, maybe your costs are going to go up a little, but it's not going to be the same thing as you hiring an additional person or needing a team to make you money. And now I'm seeing this happen more, where it's like we've gone to this whole outlaying to a team. And I've seen a few people with the industry say, oh, we've sacked our sales team and we do that in-house now. We do that on email. And I'm like, yes, because it does cost the business a lot if you need to continually outsource in order to get paid, okay? So the difference matters. When we think about growth, more revenue, absolutely, but there is going to be more activity, more hustle, more of our mind being on required compared to scale. How can we make more money without more effort, more time, and more expenses, okay? And the reason that this matters for you and your business, if you are a small business, I have a stat for you. When we look at small business in Australia, and I think most of us are in Australia, Chelsea, I know that you are in New Zealand, 50% of all small business earns under $200,000 a year. Which, you think about it, we think about every business, when small business employs most of Australians, 50% is under 200,000, and then half of that is under $50,000 a year. We don't have the luxury to do all of this. So what we really need to think about is, how can I make the most amount of money to support me and to support my business without spending all of this money, okay? So this is why I love email, because again, you are already paying for this software. And we are going to learn today 3 things that I would love for you all to have in your business. Maybe you're not going to be able to do it this week, or maybe you've got them done. But something that I would love for you to get done by the end of the year, so that you're actually going into 2026 completely like ready and on for anything awesome to happen. So think about now, what would it look like? And maybe you don't know your numbers. That's going to be a task for you today. I want you to think about, what would it look like for your sales revenue to double next year and every expense to stay the same? How cool would that be? And what would it look like for that to triple and quadruple? This is how I want you to start to think with your business now, okay? So we're not thinking, oh, okay, cool, I've just had a $50,000 month and our expenses go up. Of course, things like that are going to happen. We are going to need to have a website. We're going to need to have sexy branding. Sometimes you'll need to have an investment. Maybe I want to work with Peter. I want to get some pictures. I want to get some branding done, whatever. But we want to make sure that us earning money isn't tied with the continual outlay of dollars and having to pay people. So if you are new to me and my work, this is my process of building businesses, which is called goals. So you can see here, we start with the goal. We go to that next category, which is offerings, then lead generation and visibility and sales. So it's like, okay, cool. I want to make $1 million. Awesome. What are you selling for that? I'm selling my email marketing program, Give Good Email. Cool. How are you visible? What's your lead generation strategy? We've got really good referrals. I'm on Instagram. I also do TikTok. I've got the podcast. What are your sales? I run events like this. I sell on the podcast and I sell on email. Okay. That is really the basis of what I teach. It's a very simple business plan. Now, when we look at scaling, this is what they do. They will usually tell you first up, oh, you need to change your business model. So you've got to go into like B2B, or you have to go into like coaching or sell passive courses. And then what we're going to do is we're going to hire someone to help you with content, and we're going to do lots of ads. And to do ads, we recommend outsourcing it to an agency. And then to do sales, what we're going to do is we're going to retarget with ads, or we're going to hire a sales team. And you can see here how that's a bit madness, because all of a sudden it's like we've had to change everything and we've recouped all of these expenses. What would be a smarter way to do this is firstly, do what the fuck you want, okay? Huge permission slip. You can make money doing whatever you want, however you want, selling to whoever you want. I have seen in 17 years I've been in business some crazy shit, and people make money in just very unusual ways. So you can always be successful doing what you want. But what we want to make sure is that when we are showing up and when we are running our beautiful business, is that we have this beautiful infrastructure that ensures that our goals actually happen. And the three things that every single business needs is a welcome flow. So this is when someone joins our email list, they go to our website or they find us on Instagram, something that they can go through where they find out about what we do, who we are, and how we do it. A sales flow that will sell our hero product. So we think about what is the number one thing in your business that you want to sell. The easiest way to think about this is the number one thing in our business we want to sell should not cover a grocery shop. It should be really substantial, okay? So if you are familiar with my business and my offer suite, mine would not be my $35 offer. When I think about making $1 million, I do not want to make $1 million a year selling something that's $35. I want to sell something that is high transformation for me and the client going into it, which would be Give Good Email or Business Bang, all right? And then what we do here is we have a post-purchase flow. So I've got a lot of statistics actually backing this up. So it's not just me saying, hey, the vibes feel good on this. You're actually going to see why your business needs all three and how this is going to just completely change how things are currently running in your business. So I've written here, everything in your business can basically be solved with email. There is a bit of a caveat. You are, of course, going to have to do some work. So you're going to have to set this up. You're going to have to write the emails. It's going to take less than you think. I once had a client and he had a welcome flow and he had 52 emails. So it was like an email a week for a year. He said he didn't want to think about sending emails. He said he locked himself in a room for 2 days and he did it and it was done. And I'm like, I'm kind of obsessed with that. He said, some of the emails weren't great. And I said, doesn't matter. You actually did it. So there is going to have to be a little bit of work from you as well. Again, some things that it does as well. I know we've got some e-commerce people in here, but what it's also going to be really good for you to do is boost up your AOV, so your average order value. You've got here LTV, which is your customer lifetime value. Something fun for you all to do is look on your payment processor. So maybe that is it's Stripe or Kajabi or whatever you're making your sales. See if you can go into your like profiles and see like what your customer lifetime value is. And then what I would love for you to do is to match that up with what you're selling. So say, for example, you're like, oh, my customer lifetime value is $2,500, meaning when someone comes into my business, I know that the rough lifetime spend that they're ever going to have with me is $2,500. And what you need to do is look at this against your offer suite. And you're going to see that there's a mismatch if you're selling products and services that are $10,000, $20,000, or you've got retainers. So what this tells me is if your customer lifetime spend is low, but you know that you are selling stuff that's a lot higher than that, the one that we were talking about, your post-purchase flow, is going to be so, so, so important for you to implement in your business. For people as well that feel like that you have multiple different offers at once, so you're not just known for one product. And again, this is another problem that I'm seeing with scaling advice. A lot of it is people that have like a monthly recurring revenue model. So maybe they're selling a coaching program and that's all they sell. They sell one thing. And they tell you to simplify. If you are selling multiple different things to multiple different segments of people, so maybe you've got e-commerce and service-based, or maybe you've got retainers that you do for startups, and then you do huge like change projects for bigger businesses, it's going to be really hard for you to simplify everything And if you've got a number of things happening in your business, this is where email is going to work really well, because you can have different sales play out behind the scenes, but front of house on your Instagram and on your LinkedIn can be a very different story as well. All right, so let's get to it. Now, email loves to make this really complicated, and email service providers, so ESPs, companies like MailChimp, Flowdesk, ConvertKit, they love to call email something different. And as we go through these slides today, you'll also see that I call them something different as well. So when we look at flows, automations, sequences, drip campaigns, and workflows, they're all the same thing. So this is something that you create ahead of time. So maybe you're like, okay, when someone joins my email list, I'm going to make this so they get an email immediately. So it doesn't matter if Jackie joins today and if Sarah joins like a week from now, you know, they're going to get the same email. That's the top one. Okay. So it's work that you do ahead of time. It can be one email. It can be many different emails. That's the top one. The bottom one, email, newsletter, campaign, broadcast. This is something where, you know how you all got an email from me this morning saying, hey, everyone, we're live in 20? That's the bottom one. Okay. So this is something, it's sent out once. And it's like, if you're not on the guest list, you don't get that. Okay, so this is really the difference between both. We are focusing today on this top one because this is the kind of thing where you can do the work ahead of time. It's going to work for you, and it ensures that, you know, it doesn't matter what's happening in your business moving forward. It's like, this is why it's awesome. We can do the work now, and then our whole next year is basically set up. Okay, and this is roughly what this looks like. So someone goes in through an opt-in, then they go into a segment, they get added to a segment, and then an automation pops out on the other side. If you're like, whoa, I'm new to email marketing, what I'm going to recommend is you can head to my YouTube or you can go to the podcast. There is a workshop called Bulletproof Your Marketing and Make Email Your Bitch. That is going to be incredible foundations. I would go and watch and listen to that as well, where we're going to go more into that side of things. So let's start with email one, your welcome flow. Now, I see this as your business concierge. Has anyone had an experience before where you've gone into like a business or a shop? Maybe you're like, oh, I'm going to start and I'm going to go to this like new Pilates studio in town or this new yoga studio. And you walk in and you meet with the friendliest person and they walk you through the space and they say, this is this class. If you come early, sit down, have a cup of tea. I'm so-and-so, that's Sophie over there. And you feel in 5 minutes, you're like, oh my gosh, I feel so at ease. Why was I stressed at coming? I know everything about the business. I know everything that I need to do. I know everything. Has anyone had that before? I had that once. I don't know if it still exists, but there was a beautiful yoga studio in Melbourne called Humming Puppy. And I remember I was really nervous about going. I don't know why. And I walked in and I met with the most beautiful receptionist. And she literally walked me through the whole space. And she explained things so well about everything that I needed to know that I felt like that I had attended this studio for years. That's what a welcome flow should do for your business. It should ensure that as someone discovers you, so it's like they discover your brand, they're like, oh my gosh, I love what they're doing. I'm going to opt into their mailing list, hot brand, super enticing, that they get onboarded into what you do and how you do it. And then we start to have like this beautiful, almost like relationship with our subscriber. Okay. Every business should have something that does that. Okay. And you can see here, we've got some incredible statistics. You can see straight away, 42% higher open rate than the average email. The cool thing for you is the more engagement that we have with people at the start of the relationship with the business, that's going to continue. It's like if you ever meet someone at a business networking event and they're so friendly to you, if you see them again, you know that they're a really friendly person. You're starting off in a way where you're like, oh yeah, I know exactly what they're like. Emails do the same. So the more that you actually get people engaged, guess what happens when we go to sell? They're really engaged with those emails. And because they're engaged, you're going to get higher conversions. And you can see that with the next point. Your welcome series emails can get up to 320% more revenue than your promotional emails. So if you are not selling at all in your welcome flow and you're waiting to sell in a newsletter, you are missing money. And that's also reflected when we actually look at our speed to lead. So you can search online, speed to lead, and how when we actually engage a new lead, so someone's really curious about our brand, when we are on them immediately and we give them exactly what they need, how the uptake and even the ability to sell to them is so high. And this last stat I'm obsessed with, responding the first minute to a lead can boost conversions by 391%. Isn't that just outstanding? The thing is, we can't all be on. We also don't have the ability when someone lodges a form for us to ring them immediately. But what we can do is get that whole process started with email. So this is where, add your discovery call links, add your application forms or call links, whatever it is, but add that in there because the data is here. And this is something where if you feel like you've got a really good online brand, if you get a lot of eyeballs, but you feel like they're not really turning into something, this is going to be incredible for you. Okay. So I like to think about your welcome flow as your subscribers' first paid experience with your brand. And I know you may be like, but they're not paying to be there. They are, but with their attention. And when we think about email can be so terrible, right? Like it can be awful. And we are getting more awful emails the higher uptake that we have with people using AI. Let's be honest. If people are willing to risk that with you and your brand, that has a cost that they have paid. So this is where you can ask yourself, if someone paid me $5 to be on my welcome flow, would I be like, they're going to have a good time, or would I be fucking embarrassed? And I think I've got that I think I added this last night. Yes, I went through these again and I was like, I'm going to add this as a point, because I think sometimes we can think, oh, it's okay, but is it worth $5? And what I would encourage you to do is to make this at a point where someone would be like, holy shit, this was amazing value for $5. Or they've answered a question, or I feel really good in my body when I read these emails, or whatever it is. It's going to be different for all of our beautiful businesses. Okay. So we can also think about this like it's early stage dating. So I don't know if anyone out here is dating. I feel like I've been single for 10 years. I've probably been on over 600 first dates. So I'm a master at first dates and early stage dating. Okay. And you want to make sure when you do that you bring the crazy, you bring your beautiful, authentic personality, because that is what is going to either magnetize people, so we get a customer, or repel people. They're not for us. In business, not everyone is going to become a customer. We don't want that. We're not McDonald's. We are not here for like mass produced anything. We have a particular kind of customer that we want to work with. And because of that, we want to make sure that our welcome flow really brings these people in. So it also reduces that time from them, finding us and then becoming a customer. Okay. So what you can do is, if you already have a welcome flow, take a screenshot of this. We've got a few of my Give Good Email people here, so you are so familiar with this already. And lucky for you, this is actually the automation framework that we are going to use for every single automation. So anytime something is happening in your business, and if you're like, oh, I feel like that I can use email to kind of make this better, this is what you're going to go to. It's called 9 Things to Nut Out, and there's really 9 questions that you need to answer. And this should be done really, really simply. So if you were doing this yourself, you would probably spend like maybe like max 5 minutes on this. So the purpose of the automation. So what is this about? And you could be like, well, I want people to understand what I do and how I do it and why they should work with me. That's the purpose of your automation flow. Who is the subscriber that's going through it? Oh, well, they are businesses that are wanting to like scale to $500,000, or they're people that want to start Pilates classes, or they're people who want to be able to stand on stage and represent their business in the best way possible and not feel like that they're losing their voice or they're losing their words in the process. What's their starting point? Are they familiar with the kind of work that you do? Are they like, yes, I know exactly what this is. I'm now on the hunt for the perfect person for me. Or are they still at that stage where maybe they don't really have like an understanding of, well, this is my problem and this is the solution. And we need to kind of look at the messaging in our opt-in. So where we collect their email address for them to do that. We then think about the ideal outcome of our automation. For some of you, you may be like, I would love them to like book in to like, I've got this beautiful consult. That would be really wonderful for them to do. Or maybe you're like, I run regular events. Or maybe you're like, you know what? I sell all the time. If they're on my email list, they're going to be sold to. If they're in my world, they're going to be sold to. What's really important is that they understand who I am and how I do it and my teaching style. So that's me. I know I'm not for everyone. I am sweary. I tell this to my clients all the time. I'm not here to be your friend. I'm your consultant and I'm here to make your business better. So sometimes you are not going to like the advice that I give you. That's okay. That's what I'm here for. I'm here for your business and to upskill you as an entrepreneur. I need people to be fine with that because they are going to feel slapped around if they've had no experience and then they work with me. So for that reason, my emails in my welcome flow, there's some spice to them. Okay. I'm not kind of like leaving stuff out being like, I'll do that later. I want people to have that as soon as they opt into my mailing list. Now, the journey that they go on, when we think about the starting point and the ideal outcome, so point A to B, what do they need to know? What do they need to do? What information do we need to give them so that endpoint happens? When we look at the frequency of email sends, this is going to be really dictated by if there is a particular, like basically your outcome as well. And if you have things happen within your business where maybe you've got like monthly workshops. Okay. So at the second Tuesday of every month, you run a workshop. So you want to make sure that you don't have the sequence drip feed over 6 weeks because you want them to join your next workshop. So you may have this spread over 2 weeks, which means that they're going to have continual chances to kind of opt in. It's like, oh, yep, cool. I know exactly what I need to know. Oh, awesome. There's a workshop next week. I'm going to book into that. Then we've got the rough content that needs to be included. And you can see I've got a little acronym here, which is TAVO. This stands for Trust, Authority, Value, and Offers. We've got a little bit of a slide on that later on. But when we look at the content in your email flows, I should be able to look at everything and be like, that's a great trust building email. That's an incredible authority building email. That is so valuable. Oh, cool. I know how to give you money. You may have them double up. You could have a really valuable email that leads into a call to action where it's like, do these 3 things for your sleep, or I know why you're waking up in the morning and you're not rested. Here is my client. This is what you need to do. If you want help, book in. Okay. But we should be able to look at these emails and we should be like, okay, cool. There's a mix. If you're e-commerce just tends to be offer, 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 offer. There's nothing else. And what I want to say is when people can have a whole heap of drop shipping stuff, no one knows what they're buying, they worry about getting scammed, you're going to have to include more. If you are a service provider, quite often people will have a lot of value. Or they'll just say authority. Here's why I'm the best. Here's my awesome client. Here's this. And we don't really give too much else. So we want to have that beautiful mix. Then when we look at the next line, what's complementary? So we want to think about things that, when we think about that outcome, what do they need? Do they need a booking link? Do they need to fill in an application form? We want to write all of this down. The reason we want to write this down, if anyone has ADHD, or if you are like an agency and you're going to do this work with your clients, you'll find, oh, I've got to do a type form. Oh, that's right. I was meant to do something in type form. You go into type form, you forget what you're doing. Okay. So we don't want to lose focus. We're just writing down all of the things that we need. And then what you can do as well, and this is going to be perfect, especially if you've had a bit of a tough week, or you just feel like that people are testing your patience, it's a perfect time to work on your business because your threshold for dealing with shit is really, really low. And what I'm going to say here is awesome. This is where in our email flow, we get to set boundaries. We get to put all of the things that we wish we could say in here. So moving forward, people know this, all right? And this can be something awesome that you could do, even with your onboarding flows with clients, is if you feel like this stuff is repeatedly happening and you're like, oh my gosh, I just hate having these conversations, let email have it. You only need to get in that energy once and have that flow go out so that clients know what to expect, okay? This is going to be something where when you do this a couple times, it may feel clunky, but this is going to be really, really easy, okay? You'll be able to get through this in 5 minutes flat, and this is going to be what we're going to use for all of them, all right? So some tips for your welcome flows. Be your authentic self. This is huge. I think a lot of us think, I don't want people to unsubscribe. Yes, you do. You want people to unsubscribe if they're not your client. What we want is, we think about it, we want sales. And you need to ask yourself, would I rather lose 2 subscribers and make $10,000, or not lose the 2 subscribers and have no money? And every time you'll pick the money. So what I want you to remember is, in the pursuit of making money and sales, people will naturally drift away. That will just happen. Okay. So I want you to don't look at the unsubscribes. For the next month, we're not looking at them. I want you to just show up and be authentically you, even in your standalone emails, and just see what happens in your business. So be polarizing and magnetic, whatever that means for you. What you can also do as well is look at where you share things that you are your unfiltered, authentic self. If you post on Instagram, for all of you, this is going to be stories. It's so funny that we'll go to stories and we share things and I don't want to say we don't think too much about it, but it's something where we're really passionate. We're so called to share in that moment, and our language is going to be so magnetic. You think about it, you probably share stuff on the feed and it does well, but the real juice happens in the DMs where people are responding to your stories. So if you passionately share, what I'm going to say is, make some time this week, go through your story archive on Instagram. And I want you to look at the magnetic stories or something where you are really fired up and passionate about something, and make that an email. You can do it word for word. So you could, I don't know if this would work, but I feel like in theory it would, open Claude or ChatGPT or the dictation feature on your computer and just play the story, okay? And just have that dictate, turn that into an email. I did that with one of my clients. If you've had a look at the results tab on my website, Michaela from the Longevity Remedy, and she shared on her stories, she said that she's related to Colonel Sanders and she's a naturopath, and she thinks that KFC is part of a healthy diet. And I was like, Michaela, pause. I love this story so much. I said, I love it because, when we look at health, people can really get on their high horse, and you are like, you could have gone to Colonel Sanders for dinner. It's just so funny to me. Anyway, I said, that needs to be an email. And it's funny because she's like, I just don't know if it's going to work well. I don't know if it's what people want. I'm like, but it's so different. No one expects that. I just saw Jackie's face and how surprised she was. She made 2 sales from that. And I'm pretty sure her program at the time was $3,300. She made over $6,000 from that. And this started out with her just randomly sharing something on stories. So you have so many email ideas in the archive of your stories. What I do is I will just set a timer on my phone for 10 minutes. I go through and I just screenshot things. Or if it's a story and I'm speaking, I just download it. And then I'm like, okay, awesome. I've got 30 pieces of content. Cool. Let me turn these into emails. And that right there, that is your perfect welcome flow. Do not stress if you're like, people have already heard me talk about this. That's fine. We can think about people that we love and listen to in business. I know Jackie and I went and saw Stephen Bartlett, and I was like, what's this like? And Jackie's like, well, he said this in the book and he said this. It was a really interesting night. I feel like we're going to have to get you on the podcast, Jackie, and we're going to have a debrief about this. But anyone that you love and look up to in business, and speakers are at this particular point, they do have these bank of stories that they go to. The amount of times that I've heard Brene Brown talk about the same thing. Do I tune out? No, I don't. I'm so interested because her delivery is so magnetic with how she talks about this. And it's not like it's verbatim every single word, but I'm familiar with the story. And every time I hear it, I take something different from it, or it's just a beautiful reminder that I need. Your audience is going to be the same. The third point, if someone was paying for this, would I be embarrassed? Perfect way to audit anything in your business, okay? If you're like, oh, this is a bit shit, cool, make it a little bit less shit. What would removing 10% of the shitness be? What are we changing? We want to present the buffet of you. So if you have multiple offers, your welcome flow is not just about one offer. That's your sales automation. This is around the variety of how people can work with you. We know it's a numbers game. So I want you to think in batches of 50. So we want to think about getting 50 people into our welcome flow, and then we're going to stop and assess how it went. Sometimes we've had 5 people in and we're like, oh my gosh, it's not doing well. 5 is not enough. 50 is going to give you good data. What we don't want to do is ghost. So someone should never join our list and they get nothing. Please don't do that. That makes me really sad. Please don't be fucking boring. It's so funny that I'll have clients and they're like, I'm the most boring person ever. I'm like, you are the most interesting person that I have ever met. So think about the conversations that you have. And what I'm going to say is don't try to be a particular way. All right. You know, you can ask even on Instagram, what is something that I do that you love? Or like just get people to reflect this back to you, because sometimes when it's pressed against our face, it's really hard to see how we are awesome. And then lastly, we want to show our range. So back to that TAVO acronym, we're not just giving trust emails. We're not just giving authority emails. We're not just giving value emails. We're giving a whole range, all right? What I'm going to do post this workshop when you get the replay, I've got an email content planner with these little TAVO columns. I'm going to send that through, all right? Now, if you've got any questions about that, please let me know in the chat. I'm conscious of time, so we're going to move on to flow number 2. So this is going to be your business salesperson, and this is going to be your beautiful sales flow. So this is where when we look at everything that we're selling, I want you to think about one thing, and it's like, what is your hero product? You hear this a lot in like beauty and hair care brands and makeup, where they'll talk about like a brand's hero product that everyone loves and knows. When we look at our business, this is what we want to have. So for me, it's like people know me for Give Good Email. They're like, oh my gosh, Give Good Email, GGE. Even if they've never actually bought anything or come to my workshop, people even in my office will say, oh, GGE. And it's so interesting that they're like, oh, go to Peter. They hear email and they're like, Peter, you need Peter immediately. So if you have that happening or you want to have that happen, it would be really good for you to design a flow that does the heavy lifting of either selling the thing or getting the audience primed for purchase, that you maybe can close with like a timely email, or maybe, you know, you're running a workshop like this and you can invite all of those warm leads along and then suddenly people buy, okay? If you can have something like that working in your business that's working in the background, awesome. If you are someone that live launches something, so it's like 4 times a year, you know, you're going to release this program, or if you do coaching and you've got a wait list, okay, we don't want to open the wait list and be like, hi everyone, it's time to give me money. We want to be like, here are the spots, there's 6 left. And then you're like, oh my gosh, shit, they're filled 2 hours later. If you want that, this is what you need, okay? You need something that is going to walk people through that journey to be like, you need this particular product or service or offer, buy it. Now, same process. How fun is this? So the purpose of the automation, we're going to sell the thing. Maybe it's like we are going to repurpose one of the workshops that I've done. And this is a plan that I have. I'm going to repurpose Bulletproof Your Marketing, Make Me Email Your Bitch into a beautiful evergreen flow that sells Give Good Email. So the purpose of that is that they buy Give Good Email. The subscriber going through it. For that particular one, they are going to be a beginner or new at email marketing. Their starting point is they probably have software. Maybe they're sending some emails, but they feel that they're not utilizing it to the best extent. The ideal outcome. Maybe for that one, I'm like, look, I don't know if they're going to be able to buy yet, but I want them to be ready and primed so that if I were to follow up, or if we were to have a promotion or do something like this, they're like, yep, I'm ready. Thank you. All those previous emails got me ready and primed for purchase. The ideal outcome, they purchase GGE, the journey. So they need to know why email. They need to know why me, why my method, how this is going to help them and their business. You know, getting them to think about like the future and how that looks and how my method can help them achieve that. So the frequency of the email sends. If you're on my list, you know that I email pretty regularly. If you are in a standard segment, you just come through the newsletter, you don't do anything else, you're going to get 1 email a week. If you've come to multiple different workshops, and especially if we're in a launch, you could be getting 5 emails in a week from me. So what I need to make sure is that you understand I'm going to email frequently. So for me, I would probably do for this, I'm going to say like 2 to 3 day sends. That would be really good, especially if this was going out pre-launch, because I want people to understand the cadence of my email sends. The rough content. What's really cool about this is because I talk about email all the time, I'd go to my Instagram. If I didn't have any emails, I'd go to my Instagram, I would go to my DMs and I'd be like, what are people sharing? What information do I have? and I would see if I can repurpose that into emails. But we would look back at, when we were talking about what they need. Now, we can also think about TAVO. So how do I build trust? How do I show that I'm an authority? With trust building, that's going to be me talking about maybe like client results. It's going to be me saying, hey, I taught a workshop for Sophia Amoruso. If you want to watch that workshop, you can watch it here. It's going to be, sharing the Give Good Email report that we've done, case studies, all of the podcast episodes, authority, same thing, value, giving them short little tidbits that they can immediately either understand. So they're like, oh, you give me a light bulb moment, or they can go and do something and then offer. I am going to continually talk about Give Good Email. So does anyone on here have like a sales-based automation set up in their business? Like you've got something, okay, cool. So you'll see this a lot if people have like what they'll call a lead magnet. They're like, oh, we've got a lead magnet and then this sells something. You want to make sure if you've got that and that it ideally sells something, you have to talk about the thing early on and throughout the whole sequence. And there are so many ways that you can do this. I've got some little tips later on, but it could be, let's pretend that I do the workshop. So I release Bulletproof Your Marketing, Make Email Your Bitch. Watch this 50-minute evergreen workshop. We're going to get you set up with email marketing and like a crash course in email marketing and a marketing plan in an afternoon. When I sent that out, I'd be like, oh my gosh, I love that you're here. By the way, I'm Peter, founder of Professional Babe, creator of Give Good Email. I'd link Give Good Email. So even though I'm not saying, hey, buy my course, I am making it known that I have a course. I'm planting the seed. Now, if you use email marketing, which we all do, you can do something in there which it's called behavioral tagging or link tagging. So depending on your software, it's going to be called something different. But when you add a link, you can add a tag and then you can add an action to that. So this is what we do in launch. If you have a click Give Good Email, probably about, I think I've got it set to 2 hours later. If you haven't bought, you'll get an email saying, hey, I'm just checking in. Do you have a question? And, these work so well. I think sometimes we can really overcomplicate things, but little things like that, this is how we kind of make email really work for us. And then as I'm going through that flow, I'm just continually talking about Give Good Email, GGE, so that people know and they have an understanding. Now, this flow can be simple. This is a perfect example of a simple flow. This is 7 emails. You see that we've got, they've got a lead magnet delivery. What have we got here? Sleep meditation. Wait 24 hours, we send another email. And then we've got 2-day sends. We've got a little rule on the right that as soon as they purchase the thing that we're selling, they get added into an onboarding sequence. So it's like, cool, they've bought the mini course on sleep. We're going to take them out of this flow when they buy it because they don't need to be sold anymore. They've already got it. And we're going to put them in an onboarding flow. And you can see how they get here is they opt in through a lead magnet. They get added to the segment. So it could be sleep meditation and then they get nurtured. If they don't buy, there's going to be a large portion of people that don't, which is fine. They'll go onto our mailing list and they'll still be in that little sleep meditation segment. So we may decide that we're going to email that segment every fortnight. So people that have gone through this, and we're just going to keep them nurtured, okay? Because maybe in 6 months, we are going to have a promo or we are going to release something. And we want to make sure that these people, we're just keeping like them warm, okay? So that when they're ready to buy, we are there with that call to action. You can make things a lot more complex. So this was something I did for a client that wanted a tripwire. So you can see at the top, she had a number of different traffic sources that went in. Then they went in through an opt-in. We delivered a lead magnet. Now, what a tripwire is, it's either something done with a freebie or a low-cost purchase. So you see this a lot where people will be advertising like, buy this course for $7 valued at $200. And you're like, how the fuck is it valued at $200 then if you're selling it for $7? And then you go and buy it and then they upsell you something immediately, or they're like, add this, do this. So that's what a tripwire is. You can also do it with freebies as well. So let's just pretend that you download a PDF and on the thank you page, it's like, great, that's waiting for you in your inbox. But hey, while you're here, you should buy this thing. That's also a tripwire. And it's not about selling them that thing. It's about pre-qualifying leads that will then go and buy the $2,000 offer. And that's what you can see here. This is quite like it's quite complex. We've got a number of different rules. You're going to have a bit of a technical understanding to do this. Do you know what's so funny with clients? They think that this converts better than this. This converts really well if you keep these people nurtured and you send good emails, okay? So don't be afraid of doing something simple. Simple works really well, especially if you get it done. If this takes you 3 months to actually do, but this takes you an afternoon, this is going to sell. This won't, because this is still up here, all right? Now, we keep talking about TAVO. This is the easiest way to write your emails and to think about, you know, when we think about even our standalone campaigns, our standalone newsletters that we're sending and things in an automation, I want you to always brainstorm this. So, you know, how can we make people trust us? How can we show authority? How can we give value? How can we explain our offers? And you get to go now through all of the content that you have sent and that you've spoken about and ask yourself, oh, this is really interesting. Am I just trust building? And this is why I've gotten the result that I have. Am I waiting way too long to even talk about my offers? Or am I just being like, buy my shit, buy my shit, buy my shit, and I'm not really giving my audience much else? So what you can do is see if you can come up with like 10 different emails for each. So even with offers, what are 10 different ways that you can explain your offer? Maybe we're going to have a beautiful case study with a client. Maybe we're going to have a beautiful story. So an easy way to create emails is to just think about stories. Don't make them super complex. Make them really, really simple, okay? So it could be something where I said before, Mum and I went out for breakfast. How cool is it that Mum and I went out for breakfast, and when I checked my emails, we had a few people that opted in really last minute to come to this event? And that I didn't have to worry about that because my email automation did that. You know, life isn't about being always on. It's about being present in your life. And for me, that looks like going to breakfast with my mum. That's an email. And I think we put a lot of pressure on feeling like that we need to make these like Shakespearean art forms. No, you just need to make it something that people can see themselves either represented in or they see a life that they want. Do either of those things, people will connect with that. So write down TAVO, because anytime you get stuck, you can go and look at it and be like, what do I feel that my audience or my business needs right now? This is what I do. If I'm ever stuck with my usual weekly newsletter, I'm like, what do they need? What have I been talking about? Okay, I've been doing a lot of trust building. Maybe I need them to know why I am the shit and the person they have to work with. Or maybe I feel like that they're overdue for a freebie. Maybe we'll give a really beautiful value email and I'll give them a resource, okay? Or maybe we haven't sold in a while. I'm going to have like a bit of a sales-based email with a definite call to action. So this is going to be what you're doing, especially in your sales emails, okay? Take people on that beautiful journey. Okay, before we get into our last flow, remember I was talking before about your post-purchase flow. So when someone gives us money and how important this is. Harvard Business Review has incredible statistics. I really trust them as a source because you think about it a lot of the time, if it's like an email software, like Active Campaign or Campaign Monitor, they have an agenda for us to buy their software, but Harvard isn't really selling anything. If you have a goal next year of making more profit, and if you already have, like, if you look at how much money you've made this year and you're like, people have paid me $1, I've had a couple customers, the best thing that you can do is keep those customers, okay? So 2 stats, acquiring a new customer is anywhere from 5 to 25 times more expensive than retaining an existing one. Isn't that wild? And you may be like, well, I'm not paying with ads. You are still paying with your time. You are paying with your content. You are paying with your brain being on and thinking about ways for you to continually show up and keep people engaged. And if you can just engage and sell 5%, okay, if you focus on your customer retention rates, increase that by 5%, your profits will go up 25 to 95%. Mind-blowing, isn't it? So if profit is your goal, if you are looking at all the profit content out there, the best thing for you to do is to look at all of the people that have given you money. So what you may do is, and this is what I would do, I would look back through this whole year of people that have paid you money. You can go back further. I went to Gwingana Health Retreat. The last time I went there was 2015. They still send me texts as a past customer. I have not been there in 10 years and they act like I went there last week. So you can look at everyone that's given you money. You can look at offers that you've sold, even if it's $10, even if you're like, oh, this was 2 years ago. Re-engage these people, okay? Because this is where the profit in your business is going to be. This is the moneymaker. And what we want to do with this flow is we can think about this now moving forward. So as we're business planning for 2026, maybe there's like an offer or a program or something that you want to position. Maybe you're like, I want to position my new client pack for Pilates, or I've got this like beautiful 3-month speaker immersion that I want to position. What I want you to do from here is I want you to think about plotting out that perfect plan of what that onboarding email looks like. And what we want to think about doing is we want to establish brand loyalty and onboard people to the next thing. There is a really good, what's it called? I think it's the Consulting Bible. It's a guy called Alan Weiss. I call him Daddy Alan. And he says something called think of the 4th sale first. So where do we want our clients to end up? And then we want to reverse engineer that sale. We've just had a question come through. How do you stack and plan email and SMS? I don't actually do SMS for my clients, so I can't comment on that. I'm so sorry. What I would want to say though is you would just want to obviously plot everything out. And this is a big thing. You all got to remember that when we look at, especially if you're doing this in a sales base, like knowing that Black Friday is coming up, your marketing plan is playing out in your subscribers' inbox and on their phone with everyone else's as well. So we don't want to do too much, but we want to make sure that if we do a lot, that we do have that established brand loyalty, because we can go a little bit hard instead of feeling like that we're harassing people. So I'm sorry I can't help you too much with that, but I want to say too, I love SMS marketing. As someone that is a bit forgetful and very immersed in the moment, I do love a nice timely little reminder. Okay, so same framework. How easy is this? As I said to you, it's like if you can perfect this, it's really, really simple. So someone buys the offer. This is their starting point. We want to talk them through everything that they need to know. When I did network marketing, this was probably the best sales experience that I ever had, because our volume reset to 0 at the start of the month. People really demonize like multi-level marketing and network marketing, but let me tell you, out of every business that I've ever had in my life, that told me to sell. And what changed the game for me with that was, it's so funny. I never use email with the Pilates studio. I really hated it. I was like, this is so hard. Every time I send an email, everyone unsubscribes. I don't get the purpose. I just couldn't get my head around it. With network marketing, I had so many customers. I had to make this work. So I created this onboarding automation of when someone bought their oils, I would add them into it. And it basically taught them how to use them again. So what we taught in the workshop, everything that they needed to know, how to log into their account, what they should buy next, why they should host a class, all of the things that they told us to do. They wanted us to pick the phone up. I'm like, I don't have time for that. I'm traveling Australia-wide teaching classes. I need a system that works for me. And it was funny, when I implemented this, immediately, my phone stopped ringing and I stopped getting texts, because people were like, how do I log in? What do I do? I've forgotten my customer number. Where are my oils? And my whole day was firefighting and answering the same questions. Overnight, that stopped. But what I noticed is my sales went up, and people who wanted to book classes went way up. And my admin was non-existent. And it meant that I could teach more and sell more and have my time back. And that was from this. I ended up selling that onboarding flow. And I think I was selling these templates for $40. I made almost $20,000 from these templates. Didn't advertise them. People said the same thing. And what was so wild about this is onboarding, but because I did it so well, it had the best brand loyalty. And people were doing all of the things that I was actually having to tell them to do. They were just doing it in the emails. They were following the emails. Because you think about it, if people have just purchased something from your business, they've just given you money, they want to know everything that you have to say. They are interested. Like, these are the people that are so keen. They will consume emails more than anyone else. So you think about it, is if we are not educating and we're not saying, hey, you love this product, when you are ready, you should consider this. You can see here how if we're not doing that, how those profit stats, because I know it can be a bit hard to understand sometimes if we haven't really seen this play out in our business, how that can be so possible because they're already really keen and hot on us. So if you are e-commerce, what I would recommend doing here is use dynamic content. So this is content that is going to deliver to the subscriber, and it's going to be unique to them based on the information that they have and their purchase behavior. Okay. So this is something, if you are brand new to email marketing, just cover your ears. You're not going to do that. But if you are someone that is experienced, use dynamic content in your post-purchase flows. We want to talk them through it. Do not be afraid of repeating yourself. That is fine. Remember, people are keen. They need a reminder. Don't be afraid to say, I love you or propose. So this means don't be afraid to say, hey, you've bought this. This is what I would consider in future. Normally what people do is they buy this, they use this, and then a month 3 mark, let's do this. I also like to assume purchase. So I assume that every single person that pays attention to me is a future customer. Okay. So I'm like, when you're in Give Good Email, I'm not, if you kind of maybe want to one day do Give Good Email, I don't say that. I'm just like, when you join Give Good Email and do it enough, it'll roll off the tongue. It'll feel so natural as well. You also can in here ask for things like referrals and testimonials. So we did have a mortgage broker on here before, and you think about it with a mortgage broker. Sure, people can refinance. They may want to get an investment property, but it's not going to be the kind of thing that they're going to do the next month. So what you can ask for in here are things to get more sales. So it's like, can you tell like 2 of your friends if they are looking to buy property in the next 6 months? Or can you leave a Google review? So think about things that will actually help you get more sales and more customers, and we can add that into that post-purchase flow. Again, what shouldn't we do? Ghost. So we don't want to sell something and then have nothing happen off the back of it. I would rather you have a slightly dodgy flow that's done that you can fix later than not really give your subscribers anything. Okay, so just start with something basic. Just start with a little weekly email for a month. 4 emails, that's it. Make it more complex later on. We don't want to assume that they will want to define the relationship. So don't wait for people to circle back to you, say, hey, I want to work with you again. What does this look like? Think about everyone has already given you money. They are already keen on you. Okay. They are keen. They think your brand, your business, what you do is hot. They think that you're incredible and that they love you. So I want you to remember that. Okay. Let that sink in. And then just say, hey, I know that you love this. We've got a promotion coming up. I think this would be really good for you. All right. It's going to feel maybe a little bit clunky the first couple times you do it, but it's just going to be automatic. Okay. It'll come to you really quite nicely. And then we don't want to leave it too long between encounters. So if someone buys something, don't wait like a month for that flow to go out. Try to have it go immediately. So it follows kind of like their uptake journey of them going into it and buying it. Okay, and then, this is how this looks. So we've met our flows. These are the flows in action and what this looks like. So traffic and eyeballs. Someone finds you on Instagram. Oh my God, what a sexy brand. I am so obsessed with her. I'm going to go into her welcome flow because I want to know everything about her. As they engage, so maybe you've got some like little behavioral things happening within the email, or maybe they get segmented when they opt into the flow. Their little subscriber profile is going to be built out. So it's like if Jackie joins my list, I know everything that Jackie is interested in. I've got like a really good overview of her. And then maybe in that, they just naturally get added to a sales flow. Okay, we've got some nice little rule within the welcome flow that when they click this thing, this sales flow gets added. Or maybe it's part of the flow, we get them to opt in. Or maybe it's like, oh no, I always talk about this, then they'll get added into that eventually. Okay, so it's like someone finds me, they find out about my business, they're in the welcome flow. They're like, this bitch is a bit crazy, but I'm kind of into it. Then they're like, oh wow, she does workshops. I'll opt into this. Oh, cool. She has an email course, Give Good Email. I should buy that. Okay, cool. I'm in Give Good Email. I love working with her. I wonder what else she has. Oh, wow. She got a program called Business Bang. I'm going to buy that. That's how it should be. You think about it. I want to show up and I want to do things like this. I want to do my workshops. I want to do my podcast. I want to work with clients. I don't want to be fucking around making shit continually happen in my business. I want to just do that work so that when someone finds me, it follows this natural progression. Okay. And what we want is we want this beautiful brand loyalty to continually lead to conversion, our little cash. And that happens with a good onboarding flow. The caveat is this is going to be dependent on your business and what you're selling. If you are not selling something that people would continually buy, so if you don't have like a retainer or like a membership or classes or like with Business Bang where it's like they can buy and then they can buy again, what I would recommend doing is building out like an ecosystem of offers that solve different things in their business. So, it could be like for speaking, how to prepare a keynote, how to like, stage presence. It could be dressing. It could be like, I don't know, something with voice, but you know what I mean? It's like building that out instead of just having one thing that people buy. Ask yourself, like, what could be a nice little offer wardrobe where there's like a whole ecosystem for them to buy? So I've made some little recommendations here. So when we look at how the welcome flow activates, depending on your business and how this is set up, you may find that you position a particular product and then that leads straight to a conversion. You don't really need to have a targeted sales flow because of how this is set up. And then we make sure when that first conversion happens that they go into that onboarding flow. We've got that brand loyalty. So when we look at the welcome flow, you can have things in here which is called behavioral tagging. So I'm talking a lot about segmentation from memory. I do talk about this in Bulletproof Your Marketing and Make Email Your Bitch. I think I spoke about this in Sell with Email as well. So there's 2 little workshops. I will put them in the replay just so you've got them. Why behavioral tagging is amazing is as they go through the flow, and if they click and do things, they can get additional emails. So you can have a really basic flow and it's like choose your own adventure as they engage. You can reach out to people where necessary. So this is something I do. I keep an eye on my flows and I look and see who's clicking. And what I do is I will contact them if they've clicked. I did this recently where we had a waitlist promotion of Give Good Email. And I contacted all the people who clicked and I had a 25% conversion rate of the whole waitlist in one day. And of people who clicked, and one person said, it got me across the line because you followed me up because I love how you did this. And I said to her, this whole thing took me 5 minutes. So, you think about it, there's still like an element of like a human element, but I'm not looking at my whole list wondering, I don't know who to contact and what to do. I'm like, bam, they've clicked like every email. They are a hot lead. I will say, hey, Sarah, what's it going to take? I think you'd really love Give Good Email. And then they basically sell themselves, okay? And then also, we want to make sure that people move to a newsletter to be nurtured. So you can have your automation set up, but make sure that you still have campaigns that go out regularly that you're sending, okay? So that's some little tips for that. I'm going to move us over here. When we look at our targeted sales flow, same thing, add the behavioral tags. You can add things here where if you were, say, positioning a discovery call, instead of having that as like a first option and you feel like you're answering questions, move it to the end and only position it when people click and have it more about like getting like closing. What I've done as well is I don't do calls as much where I will do like a little Loom walkthrough. So it's like for Give Good Email, we'll do a Loom walkthrough because I can do them at any time. I can do them at night and I don't do them for everyone. They only get that email at a particular part of the flow or when they've got through to a certain point. And that's that second point here, position sales calls only to hot clickers. And we want to nurture that segment more frequently. So when we look at our marketing plan, if you have people that have gone through a targeted sales flow, let's pretend that you get 100 new subscribers every month, okay, that come through the welcome flow. And then you get 50 people of those 100 that go through your targeted sales flow. You want to nurture that because you have all of these warm and hot leads that are coming through. So I would send them 2 emails a month, okay? So that, you've got your normal flow, normal people, and then you've got the targeted flow. And then when we look at our onboarding flow, again, behavioral tagging. So same thing here. And you can incentivize these people. So for me personally, I would rather incentivize someone who has given me money that incentivize a brand new person, because I don't want to start someone's experience with my business based on discounts. Like, I want brand loyalty first, and I want to reward people, okay, that have given me money. So you can do that with your onboarding flow. And this is where, like, front of house, it may look like you never discount, you never do promotions, but what happens behind the scenes can be something really different. I'm on a few people's lists and they do this all the time. They'll do sneaky promos, or they'll say, hey, I've got some free spots in my diary. We're doing 50% off one-to-one calls for past clients. So that goes out to past clients. We feel like we get a deal and nothing is kind of happening front of house, okay, which is great. And this is what this looks like. This is really, really simple. And that is essentially your scaling plan. Big note here, we can think about having big grand plans. Trust me, I have seen, working with clients, I've seen some shit. Like, I've seen flows that have so many typos. Like, there is probably like 50 typos in this whole presentation. I've seen clients with typos strewn through their automations. They sell easy. I've also had clients that try to make this so complex, and they've been talking about this for 6 months and they never make any money because nothing is done. So the automation that will get you paid and that will truly set your business for scale is one that's actually published. Okay, so remember that. So as we've gone through this workshop, set for scale, I want you to think about what this means for you, is having almost like architecture for your business that supports everything that you want to happen. So that we know when a new client comes in that they are going to be, a new subscriber comes in, that they're going to be nurtured in our business. We're going to establish that brand loyalty. So a sale is going to come out. We have these little email automations that support that happening. And what is so cool is that we now have a system to grow and scale our business without feeling like that we're always on, we're always thinking, and that we're going to burn out because we feel like that we're doing a lot and that we are doing this manually. So remember, 3 things for your business. We've got our welcome flow, our sales flow, or our onboarding flow. Now, if you can remember what we did at the start, I said, what number are you? Maybe you remember, maybe you don't. If you were 4, you're probably going to be all of these. Okay, so you've got 3. If you were 2, that's going to be your sales one, okay? If you're like, sales are just not happening, get that out. Think about the one product you want to sell, do your sales flow. If you're like, I feel like people find me, but there's no established like brand loyalty, get them on your welcome flow, okay? People like James Clear, Laura Belgrave, they position really nicely their newsletter and their emails. Okay, you go to their website, this is something that they position. They sell the value in joining their email list. James Clear does this beautifully. So if that's you, position that, have that be drip fed and have that happen behind the scenes. If you feel like that client retention is something that you need to work on, this is where you would be so great at doing an onboarding flow. Did you have any recommendations on automation software for small players, 250 contacts starting out? Fantastic question. So I use Flowdesk. I can't remember roughly what it is. If you go through an affiliate, it's 50% off for the year. So if you go through my email at the bottom, there's a little link, you can click that. MailerLite is fantastic as well. And ConvertKit's just put their prices up. Don't you love how all tech has just put their prices up at the moment? But I would say MailerLite, or I would say Flowdesk. What I would also say is 250 contacts is amazing. I think sometimes we think that we're not going to get really good conversions if we don't have like a list of like 20,000. I think the first time I launched Give Good Email, I think I had 300 people on my list and I was emailing a segment of how many? 87, and I think I sold 32. So don't think that you need so many people to make like a lot of sales, but they would be my recommendations. What I would also say is your software should really have 2 things: the ability to segment or create these groups of subscribers and have automations. So a lot of the top ESPs or email service providers will do that. So I would look at MailerLite or I would look at Flowdesk, okay? This is going to be your game plan. If you picked welcome flow, you're going to take a screenshot of this. You're either going to refine and create your welcome flow ensure it's you and build rapport fast. I've got some pretty high conversion rates on here. I want you to convert at 10%. And the reason I've got this high is because I want you to think outside of the box on how you're going to get that. I want you to push yourself and follow people up. I want you to look at who's clicking, and I want you to reach out to them and say, hey, you should become my customer. Why are you on the fence? Let's get you buying. I want you to do all of this stuff, and you will be so surprised how this will help your business. I've got here as well mid-month. So that's a really good time to check in. So you can have this maybe on like week 2 of the month on a Tuesday. You go and you look through this and you just look and see who's clicking. Maybe you're going to send them a targeted email, or maybe you're just going to personally reach out. Maybe you're just going to say, hey, thank you for joining my list. I wanted to just send you this freebie. Okay. Do that with no expectation. Or maybe you're like, I feel like I want to sell to them. Or maybe you've got that beautiful sales flow. Send that to them. Aim for a 10% conversion rate. Onboarding flow. You are going to either create that or refine that. How can we focus on selling to 5 to 10% of our customers in the next 30 to 90 days? And you think about it, if you do that 5%, that was the profit stat for Harvard Business Review, where your profit will go up to 25 to 95%. How fun is that? So I would do that probably as we get towards the end of the month. So the last week of the month, and I would just personally reach out to these people. What I want to say is, if you're like, nothing is happening, then do we need to make the flow longer? Do we need to add some call to actions? Or do we need to nurture these people with campaigns more? Okay. So maybe it's that. Maybe you're just not doing enough. You've got something there and we need to kind of just build that out a bit more. If it is your sales flow, you are going to create and refine. We are focusing on one product. So if we are doing a sales-based automation, sell one thing. I'm not having bulletproof your marketing, make email your bitch, talk about business bang, give good email, my $35 offer, too confusing. We are only focusing on give good email. We want to take them from A to B. So use that 9 things framework. I will give you the slide so you can go back and have a look at this as well. Aim for a 10% conversion rate. Again, high, but we're aiming high so you can think outside of the box and you can go and get your money. And again, you see it's pretty much the same thing here. We want to send targeted emails to segments who click, personal reach outs to people that click. And all we're doing is really just closing and checking in. And that may take you 20 minutes max a week. This will change your business, okay? Sometimes people just need to know that there's a person who actually cares. That will get people across the line, especially now, trust me. So as we wrap up, I would love to know your biggest takeaways from this event. And while you're at that, any questions as well? Maybe like your number one takeaway of something that you are going to go and do in your business, or you're like, oh my God, you've just completely blown my brain apart with that. Now, you all have a plan today on what you are going to do to set your business for scale. You think about it. If you have these 3 flows working for you, guess what? You get to show up, be in your element, show up on Instagram. Imagine how good you feel when your viral moment happens and you don't have to stress and you're not scrambling because you have all of this shit that's completely sorted out. You don't have to worry. You've already done this, okay? If you want help though, if you are like, Peter, I understand this in theory, I want help. And as I said, I know I've got some of my little give good emailers here. In November, we are doing an immersion called Goal Getter, which is a 2-week live event. These are going to be our sessions. So we've got 4 calls, and this is in addition to Give Good Email. So Goal Getter, we create our Q1 goal. We add a little bit more structure around it. So you could say, I want to make 100 grand, or I want to move this many units. We look at stories, so compelling stories that you have. And by compelling, remember what I said this morning, I went out to breakfast with my mom. I tied that into an email. We then create your automations, so what we spoke about today, and then we create a beautiful marketing plan as well. Give Good Email also is on promotion, which we go public today. I'm so excited about this. Guys, this is my 15th launch. 15th launch. It will be 5 in February. Isn't that just, it's wild to think that this has been the longest relationship that I've ever had in my life. Not dated a man that long, but have I promoted a course that much? Yes. So you can see here, this is the price. I don't think I actually have the links, so I'll have to email them through, but I think, oh, hold on. Oh no, I don't have the links. Sorry about that. But if you use the code GoalGetter, if you're like, I want to get in, this should work. Otherwise, you're just going to have to wait for me to send the replay. That's the price. Lifetime access. As I said when I started this, I fucking know how hard it is to start a business and feel like that there is all of these costs going out. Yes, it is a big upfront expense. I understand that. But we have people that purchased all the way back in 2021 that still turn up to every single call that we have, and they still love the community. We've got epic people in there as well. And you'll get to meet some of them soon. This is really the structure of Give Good Email. So this is the curriculum that you do. It's a different course. Everything is featured around our business audit. So it's business first. What is happening in your business? What are the goals? And then we use email to support that. And here are some of our beautiful results. You can see at the bottom, I asked people their list size. So some of these are a bit bigger, but one of my favorite case studies, and she's on the podcast recently, is Clementine from Goldilocks. This case study needs to change because she now has 10 staff. She's in Florida and she's opening in Texas. And what changed for her is she did so like building the automations out because she was doing things manually. We've got a membership-based model on the left with the A-Live. So she doubled her revenue. Carly is one of our agency people. So probably a third of people in Give Good Email are freelancers or they're in the industry. She got her client $1 million in 12 months. We've got a beautiful nutritionist. I'm pretty sure when Lacey did this, she was having a baby. So she wanted to set everything up and basically be hands off because she's like, I'm in mum mode. I don't want a business, which I loved so much. We've got another agency client here, and then we've got one of our retail clients. So I'll pop a report in here because we've got more case studies. But again, you can see down the bottom, their list size. What I loved about Brooks is when she went through Give Good Email, she had a list of 3,000 people. We actually chopped that down to 900. So her Klaviyo costs went way down. And you can see here how her increase in revenue went way up by 880%. Okay. So if you are like, I want to work with you, I love this, and you love calls like this, but making them maybe a bit more interactive, Give Good Email is going to be 100% for you. No? Okay, good. Okay, we love the thumbs up. Awesome. I've loved this. I'm going to go and have another coffee because, like, why not just have a little bit more energy and pep in my step today? Hotties, I love this. I love you. Thank you so much for coming along. I will send out your little replay. I'll pop some links in there. If you want to join Give Good Email, of course, I would love to have you. The immersion is going to be so, so, so good. And if you've got any questions, hit reply or come find me on Instagram as well. Feel free to voice note me. I do love that as well. And have a sexy day. Have the day that you all deserve. And lucky for you, that is a fucking tremendously good day. All right, hotties, I'll see you later. Mwah.
Thanks, Peter.
Bye.
Bye.